You may have noticed we're having problems with the photocopier at the moment. It seems to be leaving marks on the sheets, and at times it kind of blurs some of the writing, even some of the pictures that might be there. And I suppose you might think, well, looking at this picture on the front of the little sheet, it seems to have blurred everything so badly that you can't even properly make out what's there in the picture. Actually, what is there in the picture is blurred. It's been scratched out. This is a picture of the martyrdom of Thomas Becket. He's actually kneeling at an altar, and behind him are soldiers who are wielding swords to kill him. But the figure of Thomas Becket has been scratched out. On the back page of the little sheet, again there seems to be a blur. I don't know if you can make out the writing, but in red it says St. Thomas Apostle. That's for the 21st of December. That's when they used to keep the feast of St. Thomas the Apostle. It's moved since. There's a gap, and then it says Nativitas Domini, the Nativity of the Lord. And then there's St. Stephen, then there's St. John the Apostle, and then are the Holy Innocents, and then again there's a blur for the 29th of December. The name St. Thomas Becket has been scratched out. This, of course, was done on the orders of Henry VIII. After the Reformation, he wanted any reference to anybody who would stand up to the king to be excised, and a decree went out that all images of Thomas Becket were to be done away with. So in a book, for example, they'd have to scratch out the picture. All references to the feast of St. Thomas Becket were to be abolished. So in the calendars, they scratched out his name. It was an attempt to erase Thomas from history, to have him forgotten. I suppose, in a sense, it's an echo of how Henry II felt about Thomas Becket, his troublesome archbishop who stood up to him. And of course we know that soldiers went. He denied that he'd sent them, but that they went of their own accord, and they erased Thomas Becket in the church in Canterbury Cathedral. I suppose it's a reminder to us that not just Thomas, but down through the centuries, people in power and positions of authority, if they come up against somebody who stands up to them or in some way speaks the truth, well, they're to be silenced and forgotten about. It happens as much in our own day as it did back then. For us to have such a patron as St. Thomas is part of a tradition, of course. It goes back to the founding of the parish at Port Clarence, and also to the long tradition of venerating this great saint. But there's more to it than that. It's about saying, in the attempt to stand up to truth, this is what we celebrate most. Even those who are, well, silenced by attempt, that we still remember them, that we will not forget the truth. It's a great theme for any parish. It's a great motto, if you like, of what we do, that we remember the truth. Here in the Feast of Christmas time, we remember the great truth of the Lord coming to save us. There are people who've tried to erase that from history too. But we say, we shan't let it happen.